Yes, people how they say they mimic the union of the Six Nations as if to separate the Six Nations, right? And the ones who created Articles of Confederation, right? Because these were varying degrees of original peoples who, by the time they actually started to deal with this white man, had a lot of their own culture downgrade. You know what I'm saying? Now, this is a young one where he's permed out. For those people that haven't seen it. These two books explicitly basically get into him being Moorish or black, right? So here go him as a young nation. This is called a daguerreotype picture. Now the thing about daguerreotype pictures is they want you to believe that they don't know who any of these pictures are made of, because at the time that the daguerreotype pictures were being created, they said that they didn't have a way to categorize who they was taking pictures of. So this is a way for them to get around the fact that the original person who created the camera and all of that, this dude Morse, was a Moor. The same one that created the Morse code, a Moor. And he helped with the early aspects of photography in the early Americas. So most of the people that he was taking pictures of was people within his own constituency, meaning people that look like him. So here go Lincoln, very dark skinned, another version of him when he had his little concholine in, you see? Okay. Now this is where it basically gets in where it says that he was very dark skinned, dry and tough, wrinkled, lying somewhat flabby in folds, dark hair. The man looking woe struck, right? Then this is the part in the book where it talks about him being the illegitimate child of a Virginia planter or a large farmer. You know what I'm saying? As you see, it says that he is the illegitimate son of the Virginia planter, right? You see that right here, right? Or a large farmer. Now, if white folk could not own land because they wasn't from here like that, then how could they or how could he come from that class, right? So they said that he was the illegitimate son of a planter from the planters class, right? If you get my book, the Moorish Compendium, I talk about them in there because there was a book talking about the fact that they were. It was called the distinguished ancient name El and Bay. It basically gets into that. There's a whole section in there that gets into the actual constituency of the original American Republic in that sense. Yeah, the distinguished thing of the surname Bay. I know they hating on that. They don't want niggas to really get that, right? But I show you all of that to say, then when you get into stuff where you actually see the man, right? Here you go, right here, Lincoln. Then it says this context makes more sense. Where it says, Abe Lincoln, goddamn you, you're nothing but a goddamn black nigger, right? So then it gets into the reason. This is from the Oxford Dictionary, 1860. And it says a nigger was a dark-skinned person of any origin, meaning anywhere on the planet, anybody dark-skinned, they was calling you a nigger, right? After a certain point. In early U.S., used usually with reference to American Indians. So that means an American Indian is a nigger. So when they call niggas niggas, they actually calling them American Indians. You understand? Not Native Americans. Two different things. But remember what we just said. The Native Americans was somebody that was put in bondage, right? Excuse me, the Native American, right? But the American Indian and was considered a slave. But the American Indian was considered a nigger, which is different than a traditional slave because the niggers were the ones who had their birthright and nationality hijacked from them on the low. The Native Americans or Caucasian people that were never free. Everybody following? Now look at what this dude wrote. He said, my paramount object in this struggle is to save the Union, and it is not either to save or destroy slavery. Right? If I could save the Union without freeing any slave, I would do it. If I could free the slaves without destroying the Union, I would do it. You know what I'm saying? So you're talking about somebody who is basically the elephant in the room. You're talking about somebody who is in a position that really, at this up until this point, wasn't really occupied again by original people. But because he was in that position, the white people that was under him had to deal with him like he was a white man. That's what it was. Because we see European stylized versions of the man, and we believe that that's who he was because they want to hide his Moorish ancestry. If he wasn't a Moor, then why would they depict him as a Moor? They didn't dress him like a slave, did they? In the caricatures and stuff, they never cooned him out the way that they cooned out Obama. They made Obama, I've seen shit, look like a monkey and shit. They made this dude look straight like a Persian prince or something. Why would they do that? Then they got him wearing a crown. It wasn't a book. It was an article written in a book called The Fascinating and it was called The Fascinating and The Fascinating Travels or something like that of the Distinguished Surname Bay. And it was done by the Florida Historical Society. I have an excerpt of that clipping in the Moorish Compendium Volume 2. And it talks about how all of the Bays and the people, the planters from Nova Scotia, were all Moors who were Bays and Eels who came up, and they represented the original constituency of the New England, of what became so-called New England aristocracy, of which these planters who gave way for the founding fathers to do so after a lot of the Acadians had left. The Acadians, again, are another tribe of Moors that we'll call Arcadians, that the term, after they got these places from their land, some of them went up into Canada, but then a lot of them went further back down into Mississippi. These Arcadians became known as Cajuns. He talking about the Union State Society on one hand, and he talking about the more perfect union on the other. The more perfect union is the dream of America, where the Moors are unified in the means and in the manner towards perfection. You know what I'm saying? That's where they really go. We're really trying to go with it. But the opposite side of that, remember, we're like Superman, and then the other United States is like Bizarro. So they're like the reverse of us. I mean, look at what they did with Michael Jackson. Look at Nicki Minaj. Look at Beyonce. Look at Kelly Rowland. Look at any actor, anybody that started out in Hollywood black and where they are now in terms of complexion. They mad lighter. Because that bleaching shit is part of the European aristocracy. It's customary. All of the things with all of the coins or minted coins with original men on it, American Indians on it, go to the right. All of the fake silver nickel joints with the devils on it go to the left. That's Chief Tammany, that's Black Hawk or Tupi, and then that's Abraham Africanus. Yeah, this skin lightening thing been around a long time. But here go the funny thing. Speaking about skin lightening, this gives you a different perspective. because this guy is the one that gave the Fraternal Order of the Knights of Pythias they charter, right? They charter granted by President Lincoln. But this is the parent order of the KKK that he gave them a charter for. Think about that. American history is perpetually screwed. See Lincoln right here? See how dark he is right here? You see? Here go Booth. Here go the people want to get rid of him. That's why the uniform had the crescent and the star originally. Because those were Moors that were going against the Union Society states. But just like everything else, after the war, Pike and them decided that they needed a terrorist organization to help do the opposite of what the Moors was doing. Because they in our families like that, what that did to us as Moors is that they came in and created the Jacob and Esau thing. Jacob and Esau is also an allegorical story about the Moors and the Freemasons in terms of how the birthright was stolen. You understand? So the Freemasons essentially stole the birthright from the Moors. You understand? Why? Because after we civilized the devil, there were some Moors that wanted the devils to be integrated. This is the 28th degree. This is where the 28th degree comes in. And so anything was done to lampoon Moors and make us look like we were something almost out of myth again. You know, the white man always tell it. And I bring this book up a lot. There's another book you can check called Sacred Drift that was good on that tip too. Oh, man. What is known is that Secretary of State Hughes from the U.S. government attended the Pan American Conference and was made privy to this mandate, as were several other heads of state. As a result, a closed-door conference between the several nations held in Geneva, Switzerland, and a labyrinth of series of discussions and negotiations began. The Geneva conferences went on for some 5 years, but the records are still kept sealed to this day. These are records we got to get. It is known that the several international banks called in their loans as a result of this potential legal threat, and the stock market crashed in 1929. So look at the series of events. Okay? Look at the series of events in which things kind of went down. Always keep it in ecclesiastical grounds. You can't go wrong, because then the prophet come in. They got to say that the past 100 years we've been in this thing, that it's been a hallucination. How you going to say an organization that just went through a centennial is somehow crazy? I'm somehow crazy. Like, you bugging. So our Morris prayer is: Allah, the creator of the universe, the father of love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality. Allah is my protector, my God, my salvation by night, through his holy prophet, Noble Ali. Amen. They know who the real ones are. They know who's really doing what. And there's those of them that don't like it, but know that they got to capitulate and will look out. Look, it's to the point where, real talk, people from that arena of thought, police and all of that, is trying to figure out ways to get out of that and get their nationality straight. Real talk. And I'm not talking about the informants. I'm talking about black men who is online, who's police, is like, damn, I'm locked into this shit. How I'm gonna get out? It's deep, man. So again, love and light to you guys. Be safe. Keep everything that you need to keep sacred as sacred, and it will be sacred. And inshallah, you know what I mean, following the path and getting it straight is going to be able to unify and get everything straighter for us. Um, like I said, anybody have any more questions or want to deal with, they have a private session with their own individual process, hit me up. And that's about it, man. Inshallah, like I said, we'll have the seals within the next 2 weeks. We've already received the information that the sheik, our sheik is out here, is going to be the whole governor of all of Florida. So that means if you hear any more in Florida after a certain point, when I tell you that the consecration is going down, they talk about they Moors in Florida, they lying. Because we, or he has jurisdiction of anybody. So the only people whose paperwork will be registered that actually do something is going to be the shit that our temple do, out here at least. So that's going to put us all in a better position for the stuff that we all need to do. That's why we want to get the treaties out to the other member temples so that way we can start really making something pop. Because as I went through the roles, the Grand Sheik, through the Elder Supreme Grand Sheik, has came out and said, yo, he done checked, and it's only like 4 or 5 that's within the ecclesiastical district in the whole world. So we like number 4, number 5, inshallah. So if we can extend it, we can do so, you know. So let's do it. Love and light to everybody. And yeah, man, do the knowledge to that Library of Congress joint. Real talk.